check boxes, but the kind where you actually unleash the potential of your team. Please welcome Alicia Speaks, CEO of Audacious Concept Inc. and her leadership strategist who helps executive eliminate friction, reduce burnout, unlock execution energy, and design high-trust team through alignment, instinctively decision models, and performance system. She's going to explain all these words right now. Welcome, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so today we're going to be talking about moving from managing performance to unleashing potential. I'm going to give you a blueprint, a very simple blueprint on how to align strengths, energize action, and build real resistance, especially now in this AI-generated world that we're living in. So, like she said, I'm Alicia Speaks with experts at Leaders Trust. Talked about trust earlier, right? Trust to make strategic vision actionable through their people by aligning their behaviors to their strategy, improving communication, collaboration, and cooperation. So, we are here in South Florida, just minutes from the beach, and from time to time, from time to time, we have rip currents in the beach. And what do lifeguards tell you? If you're ever caught in a rip current, don't try to swim back to shore through the rip current. You got to swim parallel to the shore because you have to shift, move out of the rip current, and then you can ride the currents back to shore easier. You're in flow that way. So when you try to swim through the current, the rip current, what happens? Exhaust yourself. Right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. How to not exhaust yourself and actually ride the waves and ride into shore in flow. So we're handing out some little cards. So if you get a little card and a pencil, what I want you to do is print out your first name on that card. And when you print your first name, just raise the card up in the air after you finish printing your name on it. I think she's handing them out this way. So when you're done, just print your name. You can raise it, that way I know, and then I'll keep going. I know she's taking a little time to do that. For those of you, was it difficult who've done it? Was that hard at all? No, it was easy, right? Okay, so now, as we're moving forward, just print your first name on it. I want you to take the pencil, put it in your opposite hand, and print your first name. And then raise the card when you finish doing that. Okay, I see it take a little bit longer, didn't it? Yes, it did. All right, what we know from research is in utero, before you're born, handedness was already wired into your brain. So whether you were left-handed or right-handed, that was wired into your brain. So those of you, when you switched hands, it took longer, it was a little uncomfortable, and the results weren't as good. So there are other strengths that were wired into your brain before birth, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some of those strengths that we probably have ignored, but that's like riding into the surf. I want you to remember this number, 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. Dr. Cy Wakeman, in her book, No Ego, she talks about, they did some research, and she talks about 2.5 hours a day, on average, per employee is spent on emotional waste. 2.5 hours. That's almost a third of your day in emotional waste. That's expensive. That's just going down the toilet because there is no productivity in that. For instance, when I asked you to switch the pencil into your other hand, some of you went, oh, that's emotional waste right there, right? That was emotional waste. So if someone's complaining and whining about decisions that you make as a leader, they're not being productive. So how do we get rid of that 2.5 or at least reduce that? Wouldn't that be beneficial to learn how to reduce that waste and invest in reducing that waste? Some people think AI is going to help reduce that waste. Well, Deloitte says that Deloitte found that AI initiatives don't fail because of technology, they fail because organizations don't address the human behavioral alignment first. And that's where we're going to talk about the human behavioral alignment, because humans need to run the AI. So self-awareness is one of those things that can unleash your potential. And increased self-awareness in those strengths can be your superpower. The challenge is, a lot of us think we know ourselves very well when it comes to self-awareness. In fact, Dr. Tasha Eurich says that 95% of people think they're self-aware, when in fact only 15%, about 15% of people are actually self-aware people. And so, how do we get this self-awareness? It's important for us to understand how to create a sustainable performance model for ourselves and for those who work around us. So one of the things that we all hear when we want more productivity is to do more, right? We need to do more. But how do we do more? A lot of the advice is centered around working harder or working more hours. That's how we're going to get more productivity. Well, that's just going to lead to exhaustion and eventually burnout. And so what we need to do more is do what matters most and do the things that deserve your best effort. That's what we need to focus on when we're talking about doing more. But then there's another part of this, and in order to have sustainable performance, we have to do it more naturally. Again, not swimming against the current, but swimming with the current. So how do we do things more naturally? Well, this is probably what we were talking about earlier, about being a little complicated. I'm going to be a little complicated just for a second, because I want you to understand that when you want to maximize potential, your potential and the potential of those around you, you really need to understand there are three different parts of our brain. The first part of our brain is the cognitive. That's our thinking brain. That's where our IQ, our skills, our reasoning, our knowledge, our education, and our experience lie. Then there's the affective side of our brain. And that part of our brain is our desires, motivations, attitudes, preferences, emotions, and values. But there's this third part of the brain, and this is the part that's wired into your brain before you were born. And that's called the cognitive part of the brain. And that's how you do things. And that is in the prefrontal cortex with the cognitive part of your brain. And that is your drive, your instinct, your necessity, your mental energy, your innate force, your talents, and your subconscious commitments. And this is how you end up with an aligned, activated, and actualized performance and decision making. When you don't have all three parts working, let's say you just have your cognitive and affective, you have motivated reasoning. You're motivated to do something and you reason yourself into it, but you don't really know how to do it. If you are motivated and you're excited about doing something, but you know how to do it, you're using your instincts to do it, what happens is you have committed actions that are supported by emotions. And we see this all the time. People dive into things and they get excited about it, and then they think afterwards, why did I do this? It's because they didn't think before, did they? If you lean into your cognitive way of doing things, your natural instinct for doing things, and you think about it, you end up with committed action supported by facts. And what that looks like is like a dry piece of toast. You have no feelings towards it. That's when your boss tells you to do something, and you're like, why am I doing this? I don't even want to do this. You don't have any desire to do this. So in order to really maximize performance and potential, you need to engage all three parts of the brain, and that's how you have success. So this is where you stop managing performance. This is the blueprint to stop managing performance and to start aligning potential. The first one is to know thyself. Like I said before, in self-awareness, we all think we know ourselves, but what we actually have is historical data on ourselves. We have data that it's not necessarily accurate because it's filtered through our belief systems. There was a time when left-handed individuals were considered witches, and you had to learn to write with your right hand. That is something that was filtered through a belief system of the time. So if you were left-handed, you thought something was wrong with you. So some of us have strengths that because it's filtered through our belief systems, we think it's wrong and we shouldn't operate like that. So we try to operate ourselves out of our strengths. So the first step is to really know yourself by validated data collection. Validated assessments that collect accurate, unbiased data. The second, your team. Understand the people around you. What are their strengths? Decode their strengths, not just your own, but who do you have working with you? How am I maximizing their strengths? Do I even know and understand their strengths? Again, we don't want allegorical data. We want empirical, unbiased data that's validated. And then the third way is to align the work. Now that you understand the strengths, you want to align their work to their behavioral strengths, and that's how you get high performance, when they're aligned. Clarity is huge, Valentine, right? So when they have clarity in who they are, what their strengths are, and you align it to the work, then you're not trying to convince people to do something. They're already designed in that way to do it. So I'm going to talk to you about a company, an organization that we worked with. Their revenue had plateaued. This is a 6-person team. They were a manufacturer's rep. And the leader came to me because he said, I know we have A players, but for some reason, they're not operating that way. So the first thing we did is we did a talent to strengths, strengths to strategy, alignment, a gap analysis, sorry. We did a gap analysis for them. And what it revealed were these 4 things. They were heavy on collaboration. They lacked proactivity. They had high discussion, low ownership, and slow decision making. Slow decision making. They had innovation without infrastructure. They had ideas that outpaced their execution. They had rework, and they had little accountability. They had process and precision gaps, which meant that they didn't have systems and processes. It all lived up in their heads, and we needed to get it out of there. They lacked operational processes. They had high scaling risk. They had emotional friction. This type of emotional friction was not something, the conflict was not outward. It was something that was happening under the surface, and nobody could actually articulate it, but it was there. And so they all had conflict avoidant behavior. They had hidden productivity gaps. And so what happened when we got together for a strategy day after we did this gap analysis was that we found the 2 founders had an argument during our strategy session, like full-blown arguments between the 2 of them, loud. And I let the argument play out, and then after that, I was able to show them, based on their instincts, on their strengths, why they were having this friction, why they were having this argument, because each wanted the other to do things their own way. And that's not going to work in collaboration. We have to understand each other so that we can then learn how to collaborate. So when that happened, I was able to share with them, not just for them, but for the whole team, what the challenges were. And the result after that strategy session was a 42% increase in their sales in the next 30 days. Because that friction was removed, and they understood each other, and they were aligned to the work that they needed to do. So, instead of having those rip currents run through your business, eating away at your profit margins, why not be like a nice sandy beach with clear water where you can ride in with the waves, move with your own flow when you understand your energy and you understand your strengths. So I want to say thank you, and I have two call to actions for you today, actually. The first one, if you go to our website, audaciousconceptsinc.com, twice a quarter we host executive forums where we ask leaders to come in and we have discussions around people, behavior, and AI. How do we align AI with people? And then the second call to action I have for you, we have a strategy to strengths alignment gap. that we're offering. So if you want to know if your team has these issues that are going on, we have that available for you. So you can just go to our website, you can connect with me there, and you can sign up. We also have a team alignment. You can look for your team there as well. You can look and do a survey. We have a survey there. And that's it. If anyone has any questions, I'm here. I'm here for a couple more hours as well, so you can connect with me. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that kind of leadership that builds legendary companies. Thank you, Alicia. Alright, fantastic. We just deepened on leadership and mentorship. Now we're taking a 30 minutes break, our longest of the day. Here's what I want you to do. Stretch your legs.